Welcome everyone to my review of IDW Sonic issue 84. Before I get started with this issue, I want to address some things from the previous one that some people pointed out. The reason Shadow was in the stage as set is because the story was conceived during the year of Shadow, and it takes a bit to go from the planning stages to the final product, and things change along the way. On a related note, I am aware of the cancellation of the Chasing Shadows one-shot. Basically what happened, for those unaware, it was due to some people leaving the Sega team, and the book didn't fit the schedule and workflow of the line. There are no unfinished pages because the book was cancelled before the interiors started. However, the villain's design was approved ahead of time, so we could see that somewhere else. That's all the stuff I should have said last time. Now on to the new stuff. Big spoiler warning from here on out, especially for the game Sonic Frontiers. That's because a character from that game officially makes her debut in this issue. More on that in a bit. As you can tell, we're starting a new story arc that is part of the bigger Road to 100 saga. So far, the main constant of this saga is this mysterious bandaged cloak figure that has a coffin containing all 7 emeralds. They got the last one in the previous issue. They are also able to utilize Eggman's technology to spy on a number of characters. This led to myself, and possibly others, to believe that it's a certain platypus who previously thought to have died in issue 50. But let's not place all of our eggs into that basket just yet. Although the odds are high given that 2 of the characters that were being watched in issue 80 were the Renegade Surgeon Kit, and again this person's using Eggman tech. Which brings us to today's issue. If our hooded bandaged friend is Starline back from the dead, it would make sense that he'd be responsible in some way for Metal Sonic's kidnapping, since he spent some time with the robot while in Eggman's services. But it is also possible that it's someone brand new. We'll just have to wait and see. Hold on, did I just give away part of the plot, that is Metal Sonic's kidnapping, a bit early? Well, some of you who did click on this video either read the issue in some fashion by now, or at the very least read the issue synopsis beforehand. Plus, I did give a massive spoiler warning earlier. Based on the covers, Belle the Tinkerer, the wooden puppet robot built by Mr. Tinker, aka Eggman with amnesia, is going to be roped into this mess. Well, in a sense, whether she likes it or not, she is technically a member of the family. Heck, some portions of her designs are reminiscent of Metal Sonic's. The family interaction in this arc is going to be awkward, especially since there's a new addition to the family. I'm working under the assumption that most of you have played Sonic Frontiers, or at least watched and or read enough material that you know who Sage is. If so, you may skip ahead to the summary section. For those who don't know, or need a refresher, stick around and I'll fill you in. Sage. The, as of this video, newest modern era game character. She was originally just an AI creation of Eggman, albeit one of the most advanced ever made to help the Doctor on his Starfall Islands expedition.
I'm deploying my most advanced artificial intelligence into the ancient network spanning the Starfall Islands. I've codenamed it Sage. Sage will take over the alien network, take control of all its resources, and give them to me.
One of her primary objectives was to keep him safe. She fulfilled that function too well because when Eggman attached Sage's device to one of the ancient cyberspace portals, Eggman was immediately pulled into cyberspace. Turns out, in that brief moment, Sage's interaction with cyberspace permanently changed her, and she learned of a major threat that could destroy the world and the universe if freed. So to keep Eggman safe, she trapped him in cyberspace. She then attracted the Chaos Emeralds to the Starfall Islands to prepare for that threat.
That is why I drew them here. I hope to use the Ancients' technology to stop the emergence of their old foe.
Which in turn brought Sonic, Tails, and Amy into this mess.
You tracked the Chaos Emeralds here, right? Let's find out what drew them here.
Knuckles unfortunately stumbled into this mess thanks to finding a cyberspace portal on Angel Island, and ran afoul of Sage. Sonic and his friends wound up in cyberspace in some fashion. However, Sonic was able to escape on his own. Sage tried to stop Sonic from freeing his friends because the Hedgehog was being manipulated by the aforementioned threat. an eldritch horror known as the End.
Mortal, you have done the impossible. You have escaped cyberspace through your own power. You are the key.
Are you saying I can rescue my friends?
Find the Chaos Emeralds. Destroy the Titans. Tear down the walls between dimensions.
Oh well. Some direction is better than none. Here we go.
Throughout the conflict, Sage observed Sonic's determination to free his friends and developed a sort of respect for the Hedgehog, a respect that Sonic likewise reciprocated. At the same time, she continued to keep Dr. Eggman safe in cyberspace and updated him on current events. But she wanted more. Her alterations after interfacing with cyberspace were extreme. Not only did it give her an avatar resembling a little girl, she gained actual sentience and feelings.
Miles Prower, you have known Sonic most of your life. Your imprisonment within cyberspace, the defeat of the Ancients' Titans. Do you trust how he is handling it? With your life?
Of course. I'll admit he isn't perfect, but Sonic has overcome impossible odds over and over again. I know he'll save us all.
So you're saying you have faith in him?
It's not a matter of faith. I've got a lifetime of data to back up my observations.
Your loyalty is founded on empirical data. I can appreciate that. The feelings he inspires in you and the others, is that a facet of being alive?
Through her observations of Sonic and his friends, Tails in particular, she realized what she really wanted. A familial relationship with Eggman, i.e. father and daughter. What she didn't realize was Eggman was starting to see her as a daughter himself, though he only revealed this through his egg memos. At first.
Sage is performing at peak efficiency. Makes me wonder where I went wrong with Orbot and Cubot. Not only is she taking control of the Ancients network, but she's harassing Sonic as well. I love it! Sage has been crucial to my survival here in cyberspace. Early warnings of hostile entities, guiding me past firewalls, keeping me updated on progress in the real world. She's the best. It's a program. An adorable program, a very personable program. I wonder if she has a preference. Sage told the funniest joke during her report. How fast can Sonic screw things up? Instantly, he's the fastest thing alive. I tell you, she's a chip off the old block. Well, for a program, I mean. It's not like she's alive. Or family, or... Who says I can't create life, huh? Just a bunch of proteins pumping together. Anyone can do that. A true genius does it with code and electrons. And if I did create life, she would be brilliant and loyal and perfectly effective. And you know why? Because her dad is a genius, that's why.
You might have noticed that Sage has two different color schemes. She began with a red and black coloring, and as she was starting to experience positive emotions, i.e. the loyalty and love of her father, her colors started flickering between those and what will be her final color scheme, white and blue. Eventually, the End was able to escape, thanks to Sonic's actions freeing it and everyone else from cyberspace, and Sage insisted that Sonic and Eggman work together to stop it, just as they have done with some previous world-ending threats.
This is our chance. I never simulated a scenario where Sonic helped, since you never authorized it.
I still don't want to!
Please.
Sonic, I hereby induct you into the Eggman Empire in order to save us all. Understand? This is not an alliance.
If that's how you want to spin it, Dr. Ego Man.
Now, Frontiers took two different paths to get to the game's ending, and Sage's fate is different in each one. The base game's path had Sonic gathering the Chaos Emeralds, well, most of them anyway, to take on an ancient Titan robot that contained the End, Supreme. Once beaten, the End was free and took the form of a purple moon to destroy the planet. Super Sonic and Sage teamed up to stop it, with the latter taking control of Supreme. Before doing so, Eggman and Sage bid farewell to each other. As he watched her take off in Supreme, that's when he referred to her as a daughter out in the open. Supersonic managed to wound the End, and before the End could retaliate, Sage sacrificed herself by blowing up Supreme, taking the End with her.
Please, look after Father.
All Eggman could do was mourn for his daughter. Briefly, if one were to fulfill certain conditions in the base game, there is a post-credit scene of Eggman working diligently to bring Sage back from the great beyond, and succeeding.
Father?
That's my girl.
In the Final Horizons ending path, the partially freed Tails, Knuckles, and Amy would gather most of the emeralds, while Sage and Sonic go off to find another means to defeat the End. Throughout most of the game, Sonic had been suffering from cyber corruption, and the plan was to turn Sonic's cyber corruption into a new power. The fight with Supreme's the same, only this time when the End's released, it took direct control of Supreme to act as its herald. That's when Sonic unleashed the new power, which is essentially Super Sonic 2. During the fight, Sonic knocked away Supreme's gun. When Eggman went to get it, the End tried attacking him. Sage tried shielding her father, but the End's attacks was too much. She would have bought it right here, if not for the assistance of Tails, Amy, and Knuckles. Some would believe Eggman's Papa Wolf instincts kicked in, as he used Supreme's gun with a fully powered Cyber Supersonic as the bullet to destroy both Supreme and the End. Because Sage in this scenario did not perish in the final battle, she and Eggman went home together, with the Doctor himself telling her how proud he is and acknowledging her as his daughter. Something that Sage was very happy to hear.
Home. I like the sound of that. Father.
It's unknown at this point which of the two endings is canon, though it might have been revealed at some point and I just didn't know. Both do have Sage surviving in some fashion, even if Eggman had to pull some digital necromancy in one of the endings, and the End is destroyed. Both endings also have Sage permanently changing into a white and blue color scheme, and she's still sporting that look in future appearances like the Sonic spin-off crossover game Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, and in this very comic. By the way, Frontiers happened prior to the events of issue 68, according to Evan Stanley. This does kind of take the shine off this issue a bit, knowing that we've been in the post-Frontiers era for a while, but as Evan stated, it was the best placement due to the Chaos Emeralds. Honestly, I thought the ending of the previous issue would lead to a similar situation like the ending of the Fang the Hunter miniseries. For those unaware, the ending of that story led straight into the events of the game Sonic Superstars. Then again, Cloaked Bandaged Coffin Person losing the emeralds to the Starfall Islands would ruin their plans. And on a meta level, our road to 100 would be seriously derailed. Though I should again mention that the only reason the Chaos Emeralds were drawn to the Starfall Islands in the first place was because of Sage. So it would not make sense for them to suddenly vanish at the end of issue 83. Speaking of Sage, the reasons she did not show up in issues after 68? For one, the game placement was a bit of an awkward squeeze, and two, according to Evan Stanley, Sage was resting after the events of Frontiers. Well, her rest period is about to end. I've rambled on long enough, let's actually get to the issue. We begin where we last left Belle the Tinkerer and her companion Motobud, traveling the world doing odd jobs here and there. As she prepares to work on a child's doll, Eggman suddenly hijacks her. She warns the people to get away before telling Motobud to enact the strings on me protocol. Get it? Pretty much what happened was, when Belle and Metal Sonic linked up in issue 50, it left the door open for Eggman to install coding into Belle so he can take direct control of her. Fortunately for Belle, Tails scanned her for possible Eggman tampering and came up with this countermeasure. Have Motobud restrain her until Eggman gets bored silly. Belle got lucky here because Eggman's in no mood to wait today, so he has to nicely explain the situation. Metal Sonic, along with some supplies, have been taken, and Eggman wants to use Belle's unique link to Metal to help retrieve him. Belle agrees on the condition that Sonic goes with her. Eggman begrudgingly agrees to the terms and sends her the coordinates of Metal's last known location before breaking contact. The Doctor, Orbot, and Cubot discuss how Sonic might complicate the situation. Not to mention, whoever took Metal Sonic might prevent Belle from carrying out her job. So he needs to send a reliable agent to make sure Metal Sonic returns to him, and won't make Sonic suspicious right away. It just so happens he has just such an agent. Emerging from a storage unit that Eggman summoned is the Doctor's digital daughter, Sage. Eggman briefs her on the mission to retrieve Metal Sonic, with the added caveat that if things get too hinky, retreat. So the coordinates of Metal Sonic's last known location? Holoska from Sonic Unleashed. Sonic has joined Belle by this point, and they're waiting for Eggman's envoy to arrive. Sage arrives via Egg Pod, and Belle mistakes her for a ghost at first. Don't worry, Belle, you're not the only one to do so.
Yeah? Some kind of ghost, girlie? Don't haunt me! I gotta get away from here as fast as I can!
I'm not a... Never mind.
Sonic and Sage explain their history to Belle, but in a generalized fashion. Yeah, no details about Sonic Frontiers here. Of course, when Sage calls Eggman her father, Belle does not take it well. This leads to the two bickering back and forth during the search, with poor Sonic caught in the middle. A blizzard does not help the situation, and the four, yeah, don't forget Motobud, retreat into the wagon. They're not safe for long as something keeps striking it, and it's not the heavy wind. Sonic goes to investigate, and something very fast wipes past him and ruins his nice scarf. It easily dodges Sonic, and damages the wagon enough for Sage, Belle, and Motobud to abandon it. I'm sure no one's surprised to find out that the attacker is Metal Sonic, though apparently he's had some work done. Belle can detect him, but unfortunately interference prevents her from establishing a direct connection. Sage notes that the device on Metal Sonic's face is the cause. Sonic cannot outright attack Metal, while Belle and Motobud are out in the open. Sage locates a nearby cave they can take shelter in. Sonic and Belle collapse the entrance, so Metal cannot immediately follow. While it buys them time, Sage cannot connect to the Eggnet, and thus does not have a layout of the cave. So they go at it the old-fashioned way, with Sage taking the lead. They reach a fork in the road, and Sage doesn't know which way to go. Don't worry, Sage. Gandalf had the same problem at first, and as it turns out, all you need is just to follow your nose. This leads to Belle's frustrations really coming out, to the point that she lashed out at Sonic about possibly being replaced. Sonic reassures Belle that she'll never be replaced as a friend. He also adds that Mr. Tinker deliberately built her with love, and Eggman and Sage's relationship was a happy accident. Sage takes offense to Sonic's words, even if she doesn't fully understand them. They continue through the caves, unaware that our bandaged coffin-wielding antagonist is watching them, and has taken a particular interest in Sage. Once again, we're treated to a panel of monitors, so let's see what's on them. From the top right going clockwise is Metal Sonic finding another way into the caves, some device, which I'll talk about in the next section, Amy taking a boxing, Knuckles guarding the Master Emerald, Eggman having a spaghetti meal, Tails working on something, Big the Cat, yeah, you can barely see that it's him, Surge being a jerk to Kit, and in the center are the protagonists of this arc. This arc is an Ian Flynn Evan Stanley joint venture. Not like, say, Urban Warfare, where one writer works on the arc, and then switches to another partway through. They're working on this one together. Makes sense. Evan's the current head writer, and the brains behind Belle the Tinkerer, while Ian was heavily involved in the game that Sage made her debut in. Now I am happy Sage is here. I like her a lot. That said, the issue doesn't have quite the oomph I was hoping for. I said this back in the intro, but it bears repeating. Having Frontiers taking place before issue 68 retroactively kinda takes the shine off this issue. A big example of this is that Frontiers itself was not referenced, at least directly. Granted, Sonic and Sage don't have the time to explain the details of their Starfall Island adventures to Belle, and stuff may be said later in this arc. But in my opinion, if they're going to throw us a bone, at least have it have a little more meat on it. Now before we break out the torches and pitchforks on the writers, I will say that Ian and Evan went to bat for us with regards to making Sage's debut more continuity heavy to Frontiers, and explaining to the higher-ups that keeping it light would upset the fans. The higher-ups ultimately forced the Continuity-Lite option, and if you're upset by this, congratulations, you have proven Ian and Evan correct. If you think about it though, the higher-ups were probably thinking of readers who have not played Sonic Frontiers. And I guess that's fair, but the book is tied to the games. This would have been the perfect chance to direct them to Frontiers if the readers want to know more about Sage. Instead, they have to rely on video reviewers like me providing 10-minute primers to the newbies. That being said, Frontiers references are there. They're just buried. I'll help you dig some of them out. In Frontiers, Eggman discusses his plans for Sage, including linking her to the EggNet and introducing her to Orbot and Cubot.
I'll integrate you into my system, give you control of the whole EggNet. I'll have you network all my robots. You'll be a refreshing change of pace from Orbot and Cubot.
They are your creations, like me. That would make them like my brothers?
I suppose so.
I look forward to that.
She did end up linked to the EggNet, and losing that link in the cave is a plot point in this issue. And she did meet Orbot and Cubot, and found them a bit annoying. At least all three of them had the same idea of referring to each other as siblings. Then we have Sage's comment on Sonic surviving harsh conditions. This is no doubt based on her observations of Sonic during Frontiers, especially as he was suffering through his cyber corruption. There is a difference between that and a harsh blizzard. When it comes to heavy winds, low visibility, and the cold, Sonic did the right thing in taking shelter. Screw the cold. At least the skies were clear as he was being cyber corrupted. The main draw of the story is the family drama. First, Eggman and Belle. She may have rejected him in issue 50, but that doesn't mean he's no longer interested in her, since in a way, she was made by him. She's just the child that rejected the family and was able to find her own path. Eggman was so desperate to recover Metal Sonic that he had to draft her for this task. Belle accepted because, in a sense, she still sees Metal Sonic as family. I'm guessing she's letting that little incident in issue 52 slide. Second, Eggman and Metal Sonic. Why not just build another one? This is not the Archie comics where a new Metal Sonic can be built after a previous one's destroyed. Besides, Sega eventually told them to stop doing that. Metal Sonic is still Eggman's top enforcer to use against Sonic, and to have him in the hands of someone else could be just as bad for him as it would be for Sonic. Third, Eggman and Sage. See my Sage primer for that relationship, but here's what I will add. 1. Eggman ordering Sage to safety shows that he still cares for her. Or at the very least, he does not want to lose his newest, most competent minion. And 2, I wonder if Eggman does see Sage as a replacement for Belle. We know that Eggman had lingering feelings of his time as Tinker. Who knows? Perhaps said feelings included Belle on a subconscious level. When Eggman learned of Belle's existence, he wanted her to join him, but she rejected his offer. Then later on, thanks to a fluke of mixing technologies, he gained a replacement daughter more in line with his worldview. This brings us to the fourth relationship, Belle and Sage. If Belle did not want to be tied to Eggman, why did she become jealous of Sage? I think, deep down, she was probably hoping Eggman would somehow become Mr. Tinker again. But having a child more in line with Eggman's worldview kinda dashed that hope. A big part of the conflict between the girls involves their very nature. Sage is not a fan of Belle's homey physical assets such as her wagon and Motobud, as she considers them non-essentials to the mission. Belle is not a fan of Sage's ability to come up with solutions based on her speedy calculations, and actually takes jabs at Sage when the latter's cut off from the egg net and cannot compute as accurately as possible. I don't blame Belle in this issue. I'd be mad too if someone insulted things that I have that remind me of people long gone. Basically, the two are representations of something that's all too familiar in the real world. Old school physical, with Belle and her built-in tools to build and repair, versus a digital future, with Sage's ability to remote access machinery and data. Sage's history with Sonic did not help matters, but Sonic's role as an awkward middleman did smooth things a bit. And he's right about the two girls. The analog Belle was made deliberately with love, and that love and empathy was passed on to others. This is best seen in the beginning, as she was carrying on Tinker's legacy, and later as she would not abandon Motobud. The digital Sage, on the other hand, was again created and transformed through a freak accident. She has feelings, but prefers to use logic and calculations to make her decisions. She's ultimately loyal to one man, and that man's goals only. She will align herself with others only if it benefits her father in the long run.
I can stabilize your cyber corruption for a brief time, and then I would guide you on how to convert that corruption into power so that you may end this conflict and save Father.
And save the world, too, right?
It is his to conquer, so yes.
Yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Some say she's Eggman's ego personified, but she is a complicated character in her own right.
A family born of love and not genetics. Everything I want. I wish I'd never seen this. It was so much easier accepting the future when they were simply enemies.
This arc, more than likely, is following a classic storytelling formula. Two or more characters from opposing forces are forced to work together, and by the end, they reach a common understanding. It just so happens the opposing forces are artificial children made by a version of the same man. We learn a little bit more about our mysterious adversary. First, there might be more than one of them, given the dialogue at the end. Or perhaps it's a singular person, and they just talk that way. Second, they utilize patchwork technology, possibly from the supplies stolen from Eggman, and that technology appears to have a motif, a hexagonal monitor with a green eye. We see it on the thing attached to Metal Sonic, the surveillance device in the cave, and this device right here, that either looks like a duck or a platypus. I know it may or may not be Starline, but again, why would this person monitor Surge and Kit in the first place? Perhaps it's someone who's inspired by Starline, kinda like how Starline was inspired by Eggman? The family drama continues next time with the mind-controlled Metal Sonic on the hunt for Belle and Sage, with poor Sonic caught up in this mess. I'll see you in issue 85. Sonic has every right to be concerned about the possibility of hungry orcas in the wagon, because remember, in this world, orcas are the natural enemy of the Hedgehog.